Okay.
discussion.
Okay, magbalik-aral tayo dito sa ano, mga maaaring pahapyaw nating nadaanan ito. So Environmental Science and Engineering itong ating subject. So ating balikan lang itong mga klase ng Introduction to Environmental Science and Engineering. We have 2 ayan paki-ano na niyo. Remember we have natural environment and man-made environment. Yung natural yung talagang ano, encompasses all living and non-living things occurring naturally in the area or in our surroundings. Hindi just living or non-living elements, flora and fauna. Interact through biochemical cycles. So, yun, alam naman natin yung parang ecosystem, naging interact yung mga non-living and living things to na magkakaroon sila ng interaction, magbe-benefit sila they having benefit to one another ano, para magkaroon ng ah, ecosystem. So we have man-made environment refers to human-made surroundings or human designed spaces and structure, building, roads, water, treatment, energy grids that support societal function. Yung mga human-made, mostly ang intention naman ay improve ng ating what we call it, living status, ang man-made environments. Sometimes, ang nagkakaproblema lang minsan, nagiging salip na meron dalang development as well as may dala din namang mga disadvantages. Ano? Alam naman natin yan. Mga pagka hindi masyadong maayos ang planning o hindi na ito papatupad tulad ng sa flood control na malaking issue. So, hindi napapatupad ng ayos na ganyan. So, yan. So, yan. We have this human environment, lahat ng mga paligid sa atin, natural man o man-made at saka sa pagdaan ng panahon napakaraming pagbabago na naimbento ang mga tao. Uh, but the main purpose is to elevate the living condition. Our living condition. Ano? So we can say environmental science, it's a mission driven. Okay, we being natural science, social science, and humanities, may mga interaction siya. Bale, ano ba ibig sabihin ng weaving? Parang nagtatagni-tagni ng mga natural science, social science, and humanities yun. Sa mga development, yun naman talaga yung maging mission. It's a mission driven. So, sa environmental science, meron tayong sinasabi mga forestry professional, engineers, urban players. Yan, yung mga forestry professional, yung may sinasabi mga forest rangers. Madaming tao, yung mga undergo mga ecologists. Yan, madami pa tayong klase ng professional na yan. Ano bang tawag dito sa mga professional? Saglit titingnan lang. May nahanap lang ako. Yung mga professional na yun. May sinasabi sila mga forester, firefighter. Ibig sabihin, tignan naman pag may mga tawag na, grass fire. Kita natin yan sa yung mga malalaking bansa na magkaroon ng grass fire. Meron din siyang mga firefighter. Isa din sa under yan ng environmental science. Meron silang sinasabing forest technician, ecologist, more on palaging wild management, urban forester. May mga magagandang career diyan dan. May mga career din sa mga environmental na ganun. So, yun. Nasaan na ba ako? Yan, mga engineers. Sino ba yung mga engineers na yan? Environmental engineers. Maring, graduate din ng mga other fields, kahit mga mechanical or siguro kahit mga petroleum ay pwede rin maging environmental engineers. Yan, mga environmental engineers. Apply principle of science and engineering to develop solutions that protect human health and ecosystem from environmental hazards and pollution. Yung mga ginagawa ng mga environmental engineers. So, yan, mga urban planners. Meron din sinasabi mga urban planners na isa ding career. Sa ibang bansa, malalaking career to. Yung mga urban planners din dito. Urban planner or city planner professional who creates and implements plans for the physical development and long-term management for urban suburban areas to improve community land use and infrastructure. Yan, may mga career din din sa mga ganyan na urban planners. So, sorry. Nasaan na ba ako? Sorry. Ano ba itong mga... Mabilis siyang ako. So for engineering student, the formation careers make point and stably clear. Technical expertise must be coupled with fluency in policy and analysis, economic, appraisal and community engagement. Yun, pagka mga engineer kasi medyo mano din ang engagement yung sa yan pagka sa environmental science ano. So yeah, environmental bago meron tayong sinasabi environmental engineering, extend beyond remediation of contaminants, embrace the protection and stewards of natural resources. More on solution ito sa environmental engineering. Also advances in environmental quality through innovation in treatment technologies, habitat rehabilitation, and emission management, diverse scientific and professional domains. Yan, may mga geology, hydrology, economics, project management. Yun ang mga sa environmental engineering. Yun, parang environmental engineering and its synergy with environmental science, parang yung relation, So, continuous feedback loop. Environmental scientists generate empirical data on contaminant pathways, ecosystem reliance, and pollutant toxicity, while engineers, on the other hand, integrate into treatment unit design, risk assessment, protocols, and system simulation. Yun ang kanyang synergy. The intertwined nature of environmental science and engineering underscore the necessity of holistic educational framework. Para nagtutulong sila. Yan. So, okay. Ah, so, yan. Nasaan na ba ako? So, magpalabas lang ako ng video clip tungkol sa environmental scientist at environmental engineering. Atin panoodin lang ng konti itong ito. Kita ba dyan? Kita niya ang video?
Sila po.
Discuss the role of an environmental scientist. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, environmental scientists and specialists conduct research and analyze data related to environmental issues such as pollution, climate change, and resource conservation. They are responsible for developing strategies to protect and conserve natural resources, as well as designing and implementing environmental programs and policies. In addition to this, environmental scientists provide guidance to businesses and governments on how to comply with environmental regulations and perform public education and outreach. The work environment of an environmental scientist, as described by Eco Canada, can vary depending on the industry they work in. They may work in government agencies, consulting firms, or nonprofit organizations. Environmental scientists may work in offices or in the field depending on the nature of their research or projects. They may also be required to travel to different locations to collect data, conduct field research, or attend meetings with clients or stakeholders. Environmental scientists may work independently or as part of a team and may collaborate with other professionals such as engineers, geologists, and biologists. They may also interact with government officials, industry leaders, and members of the public in order to communicate their findings and recommendations. Looking forward, the job outlook for environmental scientists is positive, with faster than average job growth expected over the next decade. As our world continues to face environmental challenges, the role of an environmental scientist is critical to protecting our natural resources and ensuring a sustainable future. The Bureau of Labor Statistics outlines the following skills and knowledge as required for environmental scientists: analytical skills to analyze data and develop conclusions based on findings, communication skills to communicate effectively with a wide range of people, critical thinking skills to identify problems, evaluate possible solutions, and choose courses of actions, interpersonal skills as they often work in teams, problem-solving skills to identify and solve complex environmental problems, technical skills as they are required to be proficient in a variety of scientific and technical tools and software, knowledge of environmental regulations governing environmental protection, knowledge of environmental science, including biology, chemistry, geology, and environmental science concepts and principles, project management skills as they often lead projects, and writing skills to be able to write clear and concise reports, scientific papers, and proposals. A bachelor's degree in a related field is typically required, with some positions requiring a master's degree or higher. Indeed suggests obtaining a bachelor's degree in environmental science or related field, such as biology, chemistry, geology, or ecology. Additionally, Indeed outlines that relevant work experience and certifications in areas such as hazardous waste management or environmental health can also be beneficial. In Canada, the average salary range for an environmental scientist is $58,347, according to PayScale. In conclusion, a career in environmental science offers the opportunities to make a positive impact on our environment and ensure a sustainable future. As the demand for environmental scientists continues to grow, there are many opportunities to work in various industries and collaborate with professionals from different fields. The role of an environmental scientist remains critical in protecting our natural resources and ensuring a sustainable future for generations to come.
So, yan ang role ng environmental scientist. So, hindi ko lang na-share yung sa Pilipinas, ano? Pero may mga gustong magpunta ng Canada, siya, yan. Malaki daw pala sahod, environmental scientist. So, may malaki pa rin yung chance. So, yun. Ano naman natin yung environmental engineer. Halos parehas lang naman yan. Pero merong share ating panoodin din. Environmental engineer naman, role ng environmental engineer. Nasaan ba ito? Okay, let's watch this.
Tackles pollution and protects our precious planet. Meet the environmental engineers, the unsung heroes safeguarding our environment for generations to come. This essay delves into the fascinating world of environmental engineering, exploring the multifaceted role these professionals play in building a sustainable future. We'll uncover their responsibilities, the skills they possess, and the challenges they overcome. Join me on this enlightening journey as we discover what it takes to become a guardian of our planet. Environmental engineers are problem solvers. They use their knowledge to keep our air and water clean. They also work to reduce waste and protect natural resources. In a world facing increasing environmental challenges, the role of an environmental engineer has never been more critical. Do you dream of making a tangible difference? Environmental engineering might be the perfect path for you. Let's explore the details of this impactful profession. Environmental engineers have a wide range of responsibilities, all focused on protecting human health and the environment. They design projects that improve water and air quality. These projects might involve cleaning up polluted areas or designing systems to prevent future pollution. They also work on managing waste. This includes developing ways to reduce waste and dispose of it safely. Environmental engineers are involved in assessing and minimizing the environmental impact of various projects, from new buildings to large scale infrastructure. Their work touches many aspects of our lives. They ensure we have clean water to drink and clean air to breathe. They protect natural habitats and help create a healthier planet for everyone. The work of an environmental engineer is diverse and crucial to our well being. Their commitment to environmental protection makes them true guardians of our planet. Becoming a successful environmental engineer requires a unique blend of technical prowess and a passion for the environment. A strong foundation in science and mathematics is essential. Aspiring engineers need a deep understanding of biology, chemistry, and physics to analyze environmental issues effectively. Problem solving skills are crucial. Environmental engineers are constantly faced with complex challenges requiring innovative solutions. They need to think critically, analyze data, and develop practical solutions. Furthermore, strong communication skills are vital. They often collaborate with diverse teams, including scientists, policymakers, and the public. Beyond technical expertise, a genuine passion for environmental protection is paramount. This field demands individuals who are driven by a desire to make a tangible difference in the world. Their dedication to creating a sustainable future is at the heart of their work. Section 4: the Environmental Engineers Workspace, Collaboration and Innovation. Environmental engineers work in a variety of settings, both indoors and outdoors. They might be found in offices, laboratories, or out in the field collecting data and monitoring projects. Their work often takes them to diverse locations, from bustling cities to remote natural environments. Collaboration is key in this field. Environmental engineers work closely with other professionals such as scientists, planners, and government officials. They share their expertise and work together to find the best solutions for environmental challenges. This collaborative environment fosters innovation and ensures comprehensive approaches to problem solving. To carry out their work effectively, environmental engineers utilize a range of tools and techniques. They employ sophisticated software programs to model environmental systems, analyze data, and design solutions. Their work is both intellectually stimulating and physically engaging, offering a dynamic and rewarding career path. Section 5: a rewarding outcome, shaping a sustainable future. Embarking on a career in environmental engineering is an investment in a future where both humanity and nature can thrive. It's a challenging yet deeply fulfilling path, offering the opportunity to make a real difference in the world. The work of environmental engineers directly contributes to cleaner air, cleaner water, and a healthier planet for all. If you are passionate about protecting our planet and using your skills to create a sustainable future, environmental engineering may be the perfect career for you. Join the ranks of these dedicated professionals and contribute to a healthier, more sustainable world for generations to come.
So yun, ano, isa pang promising career ng isang environmental engineer which mainly focus on some solution and treatment in relation to environmental issues and concerns like water pollution, air pollution, and related uh, environmental concerns. Ano? So we have that agad again. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 minute. Share. Okay. Window maybe. Nasaan na ba ako dito? So yan yung sa environmental engineering and yes, somebody.
Sir, excuse me po, present po ako. Anori ko po.
Anong pangalan?
Anori ko po, sir.
Yeah, Rico. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Basta yung mga humahabol eh, ano. So yun, environmental engineering. So we'll go to back our natural resources. Of course, you know, it's a natural assets occurring in nature that can be used for economic production or consumption. These are resources that are found in the environment and are developed without the intervention of human. Yung mga kita naman natin na ating mga natural resources sa ating surroundings. There is comprising the living things and non-living things. Ano? So yan, types of natural resources, tanda natin yan. According to source of origin. So according to source of origin, we have this biotic and abiotic. So biotic natural resources refer to materials derived from living or once living organism. While abiotic natural sources are derived from non-living or non-organic sources. Yan ang ating. So, as per stage development naman, we have these potential resources, actual resources, reserve resources, and stock resources. Ano? Yan ang as per stage development. Okay. So, potential resources refers naturally occurring materials that are readily accessible but whose full utility has not yet been fully realized or harnessed by human society. While actual resources, also referred to as developed resources, are natural assets that have been identified, evaluated, and systematically utilized. Reserve resources are classified actual resources despite being technology accessible. Yan ang mga meaning niyan. So, ano ba? Potential, ano bang mga sample natin ng potential? Yung mga potential natin na sources ay like solar power, wind power, petroleum, even metal and mineral deposits that have not been fully surveyed or extracted. Yan, fossil fuels, coal in the ground are potential sources until they are extracted and used as source of energy. For one example also, the forest are vital sources of wood and other materials and their full potential. Alam naman natin ang mga forest ay full potential na mga natural resources. Even water, while a necessary source, its potentialized availability and accessibility which can expand through technology. Yan. So, ang characteristic ng ating mga potential resources are known to exist in particular region. May mga matatagpuan ko yung mga available sa isang particular region, yung mga yan. Lalo na sabihin natin yung mga oil. Nasa more on a Middle East area. So yun. Isa ding characteristic ng potential sources ay they have not been utilized or developed by human yet. Parang potential pa nga lang siya. So, future use, they are available for use in the future. Yun ang potential sources. So, we have what they call it actual natural resources. So, actual resources are the raw materials, substances, and energy supplies found in the nature that are usable by human. Yung mga actual na ginagamit natin. Air. Yan, actual naman. Without air, alam na niya, mangyayari sa atin. Without air. These are the actual resources. Water, soil, forests, minerals, and sunlight, which is actually at the moment we are using. Yun ang mga actual resources, natural resources. Oxygen for living things, air, water for drinking, soil, a foundation of plant growth. You know it. And fossil fuels, of course, coal, petroleum, natural gas. Petroleum, alam natin na ginagamit natin ang mga byproducts niyan, gasoline, diesel, even the LPG coming from the natural gas. So the plants and forests provide timber, yan. Yes, also being used as filtration of the air filtration to have a clean air yung mga forest natin. Greatly support biodiversity and the ecosystem. So solar energy, of course. Solar energy is a renewable source providing light and heat of the plant. Actually, without solar energy, no living things can exist. No? So we have also renewable sources requires that can be replenished naturally over time within human time scale, such as sunlight. And the non-renewable sources also considered as actual resources, which having exist in a finite quantities and cannot be replaced once they are used, like coal or yan ang mga actual resources na ginagamit natin sa araw-araw. So we have also what we call reserve. Yung mga reserve natin, mga reserve oil. So reserve resources, more accurately termed as reserves, are natural resources that are economically recoverable and technologically feasible to extract under current condition. This differs from resources which encompass both reserve and potential deposit that are currently uneconomical or feasible. Ano ba mga example ng economically recoverable resources? Yung mga resources na yan, like oil and minerals, including both those use that we can, but those yung mga reserve pa lang na hindi pa naman na extract or na di-develop ano. Yan ang mga reserve resources. Yan lalo na yung mga oil and gas. The discovered oil deposits is a resource, of course. If it can be extracted properly with current technology, it become a reserve. Pagka hindi pa naman siya, it is been unknown the place yun. Hindi pa lang siya in-extract, pero siya ay reserve, naka-reserve pa. Reserva lang. And also, one good example yung mga mineral deposit. Ano? Malay natin, alam naman natin marami tayong ginto dito sa Pilipinas, mga minerals. It remains a resource, but if those cost decrease or selling price increases, it can become reserve. Pagka hindi pa naman, depende sa price and market. Yan. Yan ang mga tungkol sa reserve resources. So, may sinasabi naman ding stock resources. Stock resources naman ay total quantity of particular resource available at a given time. In the context of natural resources, stock resources open, non-renewable, and have a fixed finite amount, such as mineral reserves, or fossil fuel like coal and oil. Yan yung mga stock resources. Ang sinasabi. Okay. Ang more common example yan yung ating mga fossil fuel, coal, oil, and natural gas. They are distinct from potential resources, available but not utilized, reserve available, and technologically usable. Yan ang ating konting explanation doon. Stock resources. So, ang natural resources ay nagpo-fall din sa category yung types niya sa renewability. Some can be renewed and other is non-renewable. So, yun. Renewable, of course, we know resources are referred to as accessible resources are naturally occurring materials that exist in virtually unlimited quantities and can be utilized repeatedly over time. The non-renewable, also referred to as inexhaustible, yung nawawala, no? Our natural materials exist in defined quantities and are subject to eventual depletion due to their limited regenerative capacity. Mga fossil fuels na yan, renewable yung mga air, solar, wind, sample ng ating renewable. Non-renewable yung mga coal. So we have also characteristics of natural resources. Destructibility, common property, importance of time factor, part of the environment, uneven distribution, versatility, and finiteness. So destructibility, mga natural resources natin ay nasisira. Nasisira, yes. Okay. Like, concrete example yung ating mga forest. Pagka ating karoon tayo ng mga deforestation, nadidistruct natin ang environment, yung sa forest environment, na din yan, na nadidistruct ang mga natural resources. Yan ang common property para sa lahat. It's common for all humanity. So, depende na lang sa location ng may mga location na abundant na yung natural resources na yun, like oil, abundant sa isang area sa Middle East. O sa importance of time factor, we can briefly say that in what you call it, pagdaan ng panahon, passing of time, as we know it, fossil fuel maybe somehow will be gone, but still long time. It's been long time. So it's a time factor, yes. And yes, of course, it's a part of the environment, the natural resources. Like common property, it's always a part of our environment. Dahil yung ating mga natural resources na yan, nagagamit natin. So, uneven distribution, yan. Parang pagka titingnan mo, bakit sa lugar na yung Middle East masyadong madaming langis? Sa lugar na yun, madaming ganong crops, madaming other resources. So parang mapalad naman tayo kung tutuusin ng Pilipinas. We have this water resources. Actually, we are being surrounded by water. We are actually magaganda ito ng ating mga sea creatures, lalo na itong mga fish natin. Napaka magagandang variety of fish. I've been in Middle East, but wala akong masyadong nakita doon mga malalaking tuna, tambakol. Pagka nagmamalengke ako, sobrang nakaka-amaze pag nakakita ka na mas malaki pa yata sa iyo yung tuna na makikita mo. So, yun. Mapapala tayo sa may mga part ng natural resource natin. Lalo na sa sea, ocean. Marami tayo. Even our forest, napakaganda. Sa UAE, makikita mo magka-travel ka within about 300 kilometer, wala kang makikitang mga green plants. Siguro sa mga ano, mga bahay-bahay lang, magtatanim-tanim sila. Pero dito, makikita mo pa greenish ang ating area. So, yun ang ating nangyayari, yung mga uneven distribution, ano? Versatility, kung ano ba ang versatility, yung matatag, ano? May mga natural resources, finiteness, yung mga quantifiable, ang mga natural resources. So, yun ang ating description doon. So, yun ang ating konting review sa ating mga natural resources. Okay. Saan na ba tayo magpa-focus? Thank you. Okay, stop sharing. So, punta tayo sa ating module. Give me 1 minute. So pagka tayo ay nagkaroon ng quiz, dyan muna tayo iikot dyan sa mga konti nating na-review yan. Yung mga sa natural resources na yan. So, i-share ko din sa class yan pagka, ano, para medyo ma-review din ninyo. Asa magkaroon din kayo ng mga, pwede naman siya kayo mag-search sa ano nga natin ngayon, napaka-swerte nga natin ngayon. May mga, pagka nag-search na isang terminology, meron mga artificial intelligence assistant, lalo natin mga cellphone ngayon, ano? Napakaswerte natin. Hindi na tayo katulad ng dati na pupunta pa sa library, maghahanap pa ng libro, kung ano. Ngayon, pwede sabihin with the wink of an eye, ay nasa atin ang mga palad yung ating kailangan. Even sa, even sa pagluluto, yung mga hindi maalam dyan mag-adobo ng manok. Siguro, konting ano lang. Even though simple, pero minsan kailangan pa natin mag-YouTube. Kasi i-level up natin paggawa ng mga cake, yan, mga ganyan-ganyan. So yun, ang ating fascinating world of environmental science and engineering. Pero ang mga deeper nitong ating pinag-aaralan, kung kayo magiging part ka ng as engineer, magiging part kayo ng mga ganitong job sa environmental science and engineering. Masyadong deep ito dahil kailangan natin maprotektahan ang ating environment, lalo na sa mga major issues ng climate change, water pollution, air pollution, talagang malaki ang challenge. Actually, hindi lang sa engineer, kundi kahit sa mga simple na mamamayan ay malaki may contribute dito sa simpleng pagpalo lang sa mga ipinag-uutos ng ating pamahalaan, yung sa cleanliness, yon mga surroundings, ano. Meron yan, nung kailan ako ay bata ay talagang, nung bata ako, hindi pa pinagbabawal yung pagsusunog ng mga damo, mga dried leaves. Actually, ginagamit namin pamatay sa mga lamok. Even sa pagpapabulaklak ng mga mangga, mga halaman, we are using burning those grasses. Effective naman. Kaya lang ay nagbatas na ang pamahalaan. Actually, I think maybe all over the world na bawal magsunog para una ay nakakaimpinsala daw sa air quality. Kwento ko lang, na-remember ba niyo yung sa pandemic na malaking naging problema ng mga buong mundo sa pandemic, pero at the same time yung ang environment ay nakinabang sa pandemic. Ang environment nakinabang. Nawala yung suddenly stop for some time yung release ng masyadong maraming hydrocarbons, lalo na mga sasakyan. May kaibigan ako Indiano na nagpakita ng picture before and after pandemic. Yung kanilang city ay masyadong polluted na ang air. Nung sometime na nagtagal-tagal ng konti yung pandemic, halos para ang ganda ng paligid, yung air, napakaliwanag ng ano. Pero hindi naman natin kailangan maulit ang pandemic para magkaroon ng ganoong environment. So it's a great challenge to all of us to somehow in our little ways to contribute to protect the environment. Ano? So talaga malaki ang challenge sa environment. Parang minsan, sige, sabihin natin medyo boring ang ating environment, itong ating course, dahil na medyo sauluhin. Pero by heart, dapat nating isipuso din ito. It's for benefit of all of us. Ano? Makapag-aral ng ganitong kurso. So, as engineers, sometimes maaring hindi man tayo mapupunta na sa lahat ng mga ibang field. Maaring magkaroon kayo ng puso sa environment, protection of the environment. So, try kong tingnan yung ating module. Tingnan natin kung ano tayo, saan tayo. Ano ba ito? 4109? May mga available na tayong module. So those are willing to have the copy, please coordinate who's our representative, Miss Joanne Hernandez, so that we have a lively, what do you call it, the discussion also. This module have some activities for you to do, some activities to do inside the module. So, give me 1 minute for nasa na ba ako? Environmental system overview. So, give me 4107. Nakapag-discuss na ba tayo dito sa mga first part na ito? Na environmental engineering. Kung matanda ko, na-discuss natin nung tayo
Yes po. Bali, nasa patatlong page na po ata tayo, if I'm not
sige.
mistaken.
Sige, tingnan ko. Sige, thank you.
Yan po, sir. Hanggang dun po sa an environmental code of ethics po.
Yan, ito. So, i-review lang natin ito ng konti. Sorry. Sorry. Balikan nga natin ulit ito. I can call Glenn Matalog. So to read again this, because importante kasi itong environmental code of ethics. Paki-read ulit nito 1 to 5.
Hello po, sir. Audible po.
Ayos naman. Pakinig kita.
Okay po. An environmental code of ethics. Number 1, use knowledge and skill for the enhancement and protection of the environment. Number 2, hold paramount the health, safety, and welfare of the environment. Number 3, perform services only in the areas of personal expertise. Number 4, be honest and impartial in serving the public, your employers, your clients, and the environment. Lastly, number 5, issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yun nga, yung mahalaga natin malaman. Dito kasi itong maglalaro yung mga pagka sinabing ethics natin, talagang parang dapat dito nakasalalay kung ano maging kahit man ano ang maging profession natin sa atin, maging anong successful engineer tayo o kung ano maging job natin, dapat may code of ethics. Sa ibang ang tinatawag nila ay code of conduct. Sa ito ay some principles na nakasalalay dito yung tamang perform mo na yung professional na career, ganyan So, yes. Okay. Second call, give me I want to call somebody also. Ano pa yung pangalan ito? Aliyah. Nariyan pa si Aliyah Lara. Aliyah Lara, present or? Lara Aliyah, wala. Nariyan pa ba? Ba't wala yata? Hello, Lara Aliyah, wala dyan? Wait. Nasaan na yung awan? So, okay. Baka wala si Lara. Tingnan natin. Gida Gladys May. Nasaan?
Hello po. Am I audible po?
Ayos naman. Ipakibasa na lang muna ng first principle, First principle.
The first principle may be threatened when it comes into conflict with the need for food for a starving population and the country is overrun with locusts. Will the use of pesticides enhance and protect the environment?
Okay, thank you. So, yung first principle na sinasabi dito, tingnan natin yung unang code of ethics, Use knowledge and skill for the enhancement and protection of the environment. Para yung din sa first principle, yan Yan, when it comes into conflict with the need for food of starving population in the countries overrun with locusts. Pagka nga naman halimbawa, yung ating rice field, marami dyan kalimitan niya na inatake ng mga locust, yung mga tipaklong na malalaki. May mga countries na gano'n, gano'n yung kinakain nila yung mga rice, mga plantation. So, ang issue, will the use of pesticides enhance and protect the environment? Alam naman natin, pag masyadong extensive ang use ng pesticide, makakasira din sa environment yun. Ano nga natin, yung napatay nga natin yung mga locust, nasira naman yung environment. So, yun ang medyo contradicting sa So, gumagawa sila ng paraan para hindi naman masyadong makapinsala sa environment. Yun ang tungkol sa first principle. So we can have Balansa Julius, that's the second one, the EPA.
Hello po, sir. Audible po ba?
Okay na, pakinig kita.
The EPA has stipulated that wastewater must be disinfected where people come into contact with the water. However, the disinfectant may also kill naturally occurring beneficial microorganisms. Is this consistent with the second principle?
Okay, thank you, thank you. So ang EPA natin tinatawag yung Environmental Protection Agency. Yan, no? So dito sa second na ito ay yan, stable water must be disinfected where people can. Yun, ang paggamit ng disinfectant ay nakakamatay. It also kill the natural occurring beneficial microorganisms. So, para siyang hindi consistent sa padalwa, no? Hold paramount the health, safety, and welfare of the environment. Sa paggamit ng disinfectant, naapektuhan naman yung health, safety, and welfare of the environment. So, yun lang ang mga nagiging issue dito sa mga violating the principles. So, we have the third. So, Morito Alisa. Eliza, nariyan ba? Morito Eliza. Wala ba siya? Okay. Okay, si Ma'am Joan Hernandez. Si Joan, nariyan ba? Sa pakibasa ng number 3 ata, suppose your expertise. Nasaan na si Joan?
Hello po, sir.
Pakiba.
Okay. Sige po, wait lang. Suppose your expertise is water and wastewater chemistry. Your company has accepted a job to perform air pollution analysis and asked you to perform the work in the absence of a colleague who is the company's expert. Do you decline the risk being filed?
Okay, thank you. Masyadong malaking issue dito, no? It meaning na hindi mo naman expert yung ganong job. Ang malaking tanong dito siguro may konti kang alam, pero ang tanong dito i-decline mo ba yung offer or isasakripisyo mo, maalam-alaman ka na gawin yung trabaho. Pero on the end, pagka nabulilyaso, hindi, maaaring matanggal pagka nabulilyaso. Yun ang sinasabi dun sa sa professional perform services only in the areas of personal expertise. Dapat talaga kung expert ka doon, ikaw lang talaga ang gagawa nun. Kung hindi ka naman expert, it's your right to decline any offer. Dahil sabihin mo na lang, sorry, hindi ko sakop yung yung trabaho. Maraming ganyan na sitwasyon. Kaya pagka nagka-problem naman, di ang problema maybe it will anong tawag doon? Maging sanhi na iyong karera. Diba? May mga the worst case natatanggalan pa nga ng mga lisensya. The worst case scenario. So, yun. So, we have another ano ba ito? Number 5. So, ako na lang babasa muna nitong The public, your employee, and your client believe that dredging a lake to remove weeds and sediment will enhance the lake. However, dito na lang, dito ko na babasahin sa book. However, the dredging o yung paghuhukay will destroy the habitat for muskrat. Muskrat, yung mga muskrat. Ano? How can you be impartial to all these constituencies? Huh? So, yung yan, ang client believe that dredging a lake to remove and sediment will enhance the lake. Yan, mapapaunlad nga nila yung lake sa pag-alis ng mga weeds na yun, sediment, kaya lang, naapektuhan naman yung nakatira doon ng mga muskrat. So, hindi rin. Ano yun sa kabilang, sa principle na yan? Be honest and persons. Be honest and persons serving the public, your employers, your client, and the environment. So, kung makaka-apekto naman, pwede ka naman maging totoo sa kanila na pagka hinukay natin yung mga lugar na yan, dredging, maapekto naman sa mga natural habitat. Ito, tulad ng mga animals na muskrat, ano. So, again, one more guy. Okay. Si Blanco, nariyan ba si Blanco? Blanco John.
Yes.
Pakibasa nitong you believe.
You believe that a new regulation proposed by EPA is too expensive to implement, but you have no data to confirm that opinion. How do you respond to a local newspaper reporting asking for your opinion? Do you violate the fifth principle even though it is your opinion that is being sought?
Okay, thank you. So, yun yung pagbibigay ng mga opinion sa mga public. Minsan public, yun, pagka hinihinga ka ng opinion, lalo na sa mga local, yung mga local newspaper reporter, magagaling niya mag-interview, no? So, yun. Yan. So, iwas lang siguro tayo sa pagbibigay ng opinion na hindi naman isinasangguni sa proper agency, ano? So, yun ang para ibig sabihin dito sa anong tawag doon? Yung kanina. Yung issue public statement only in objective and truthful manner. Lalo na kung wala ka namang concrete evidence or data to confirm that opinion. Kahit anong bagay na wala ka namang, kahit lalo na yung mga sa mga, sa mga justice proceeding, sa mga hindi maaring wala kang data or evidence, mababaliwala lang. At saka, pati yung integrity mo mawawala pagka hindi naman totoo o kulang ang iyong supporting documents, supporting information. So, dapat medyo sa bagay sometimes pagka totoo ka, mahirap din naman. So, talagang kinakailangan natin matuto. As far as this principle, dapat meron tayong mga matibay na evidence or information, concrete. Yan, ganun. So, yun. So, sino magaling-galing magbasa dyan? Si Makalalad Nicole ba na yan? Makalalad Nicole.
Yes po, sir.
Sige, pakibasa. Medyo mahaba lang ito pero pakibasa na rin yung ethos na yan, ethos.
Ethos, the Greek word from which ethic is derived, means the character of a person as described by his or her actions. This character was developed during the evolutionary process and was influenced by the need for adapting to the natural environment. Our ethics is our way of doing things. Our ethics is a direct result of our natural environment. During the latter stages of the evolutionary process, Homo sapiens began to modify the environment rather than submit to what millennia later began known as Darwinian natural selection. As an example, consider the cave dweller who, in the chill down of prehistory, realized the value of the saber-toothed tiger's coat and appropriate it for personal use. Immedi- Inevitably, a pattern of appropriation developed and our ethic became more self-modified than environmental adapted. Thus, we are no longer adapted to our natural environment, but rather to our self-made environment.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Medyo napahaba ang ating. So yun na ang main point lang naman dito ano na yung nagkaroon na tayo yung as humans yung technology and everything. Nagkaroon tayo ng self-made environment. Yung man-made environment kung tawagin ano. Na we are no longer adapted to our natural environment. So, yun ang mga parang main point ng. So, isang magandang anahin dito na ma-refresh natin yung ethic. Ethic means the character of a person as described by his or her action, yung ethic. Kaya lang yan, na bago yung ethic na yun, nababago sa kasabay na rin ng ano natin, ng mga industrial development, ng ano, yung mga ginawa nating mga man-made environment na sinasabi. Our ethic is a direct result of our natural development environment. Magkaroon nga ng evolutionary process, nag-modify na ang mga Homo sapiens, the people of the Homo sapiens, we began to modify the environment rather than to submit to what? Millennia, yung to what the environment. Yan, Darwinian selection. Okay, thank you. Let's go. Darwinian selection. Ano ba yun? Tingnan nga natin ng konti itong sinasabi. Kaya curious na ako dito sa Darwinian natural selection. Siguro napagdaanan natin ito nung mga high school tayo po, i-refresh natin ng konti, ano. Curious na, ang alam ko mga evolution, nagmula tayo kung saan-saan. Ano natin i-review natin sarili dito sa Darwinian natural selection. Nakita na ba dyan? So let's see it, Darwinian natural selection.
Any scientific ideas on how or why these living things changed. But then, in 1858, a revolutionary new idea was presented to the Linnaean Society in London. This was the idea of evolution through natural selection, and it came to us thanks to Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace. This prompted Darwin to publish his book, On the Origin of Species, just a year later. But how does natural selection actually work? To explain this, we're going to need an example. So think about a group of giraffes on the African savanna. We know that giraffes, as a species, are well suited to survive the savanna environment. They're well camouflaged, their long necks allow them to reach the tall trees in the savanna, and they have long tongues to strip leaves from branches. We call these features adaptations, and they help the giraffes to survive in their particular environment. But even with these common adaptations, individuals of the same species are almost always ever so slightly different from one another. We see this in almost every species, and it's called variation. This variation can lead to some individuals having an advantage in their environment. Giraffes with longer necks can reach higher into the trees. This means they can eat more food, so they're more likely to survive and reproduce. This adaptation will be passed on to offspring, leading to more giraffes with longer necks. These giraffes grow up, reproduce, and pass the adaptation on again, and again, and again. Giraffes without this neck adaptation might not be as successful, as they can't reach as much food. They might produce fewer offspring, or not survive long enough to have any. A neck that's too long might not help a giraffe too much either. This is natural selection. Individuals of a species with better suited adaptations to an environment are more likely to survive and pass them on to their offspring. When this happens over a long time, something really quite special can happen. Take our giraffe. If we go back generations, lots and lots of generations, you'll eventually get to an animal that looks a bit like this. Doesn't look much like a giraffe, does it? Fossils show us that millions of years ago, the ancestors of giraffes had much shorter necks. Over time, they got longer and longer, very slowly evolving into modern-day giraffes that are adapted to life on the savanna. But those ancient ancestors didn't evolve into just giraffes. Evolution went in different directions. That's how we also ended up with the giraffe's relative, the okapi. Their adaptations help them to survive in dense forests. Both the giraffe and the okapi are very different, but they evolved from the same common ancestor and took different evolutionary paths because of the different environments they lived in. However, it's important to remember that there are many other reasons that things change over time. Like all complex animals, giraffes don't look the way they do just because of how they eat. Avoiding being eaten, communicating with other giraffes, fighting for dominance, surviving childhood and finding a mate are just some of the important parts of giraffe lives. These have all influenced how they look and behave today. Living things are still evolving today, and this can be a slow process. But our environment is changing quicker than ever before. Living things have to change to fit these new environments, but can they keep up?
Evolution happens on a variety of timescales. Over tens of millions of years, we can see the unfolding of evolution in groups such as whales or horses or primates. But evolution can also happen much more quickly. One example is shown by lizards that live on Caribbean islands. Researchers measured the body parts of the lizards over a series of years. At one point during the study, a major hurricane hit one of the islands, and many of the lizards died through being swept out to sea. The researchers found that those lizards that survived had larger toe pads and shorter hind limbs than those that were lost. The lizards that survived did so by clinging to branches, and the larger toe pads and shorter hind limbs enabled them to cling closer and more firmly to the branches. Evolution had happened. The population and the species had changed. This example of the lizards is very relevant to us today because hurricanes are increasing in frequency and intensity due to human-caused climate change. Over the course of millions of years, species have periodically gone extinct, but new species have evolved to take their place, so there was a balance. Today, environments are changing so quickly as a result of human action that many species may not have the time to adapt and are likely to go extinct. And this is due not only to climate change, but also to the destruction of habitats. For example, the cutting down of forests to make way for cattle ranches or oil palm plantations. If we want to preserve the natural world, we have to learn to live in harmony with it. And that means caring for natural habitats, preserving them, and also urgently tackling climate change.
So what have we learnt? Well, we know that individuals of a species are almost always slightly different from one another, and this is called variation. We know that when this variation helps an individual survive and reproduce in its environment, it's passed on to offspring who will share the benefits. We know that over time, this adaptation drives evolution, sometimes resulting in a new species altogether. And we know that evolution is just one of many reasons why things change. Well, I think that's about all we can fit into one video. But if you want to learn more about natural selection, then why not check out our website? And don't forget to like.
Yan pala ang natural selection. Adaptation, variation. So, yan ang nangyayari yan nga nangyayari sa ating environment due to some alarming concern like climate change. Yan ang mga caused by most of them are caused by man-made environment. So hopefully makagawa pa rin Even kahit sa ating mga bahay, hindi natin kung isasampol natin yung mga air natin sa bahay na ating the air we breathe is still contaminated, lalo na pagka yung mga sensitive ang ating mga lungs. So yun. Apa ito? Okay. Miss Dumlao Maria Isabela.
Yes po, sir.
Kaya mo mabasa yung medyo mahabang paragraph na yan. The balance of cost hanggang sa, ano bang pangalan? Quantitatively assess. Kaya bang basahin dyan?
Yes po, sir.
Siya pakibasa. Thank you.
The balance of cost and benefit to obtain a desired quality of air, its term or air resource management. Cost-benefit analysis can be problematic for at least two reasons. First is the question of what is desired air quality. The basic objective is, of course, to protect the health and welfare of people. But how much air pollution can we stand? We know the tolerate limit is something greater than zero, but tolerance varies from person to person. Second is the question of cost versus benefit. We know that we don't want to spend the entire gross domestic product to ensure that no individual's health or welfare is in pain. But we do know that we want to spend some amount. Although the cost of control can be reasonably determined by standard engineering and economic means, the cost of pollution is still far from being quantitatively assessed.
Okay, thank you. So, itong part nga ito, para nabanggit ko kanina, para yung polluted yung air natin, yun nga, sinasabi dito, the cost of pollution is still far from being quantitatively assessed. Ano? So, okay. Yes, the balance of cost and benefit to obtain is a desired quality by restored air resource management. Yan. Sa system na ito ng air resource management system, yan, sinasabi pa rin, cost-benefit analysis can be problematic for at least two reasons. Yung may mga dalawang reason na pwede nating i-take note. First is the question of what is desired air quality. Ano ba talaga yung kailangang air quality na desired air quality? Ang aim naman palagi ay to protect the health and welfare of the people. Yun naman palagi ang goal ng isang tag dito. Analysis yung Then, tanong nga dito, but how much air pollution can we stand? Dahil alam naman natin ang rampant ang pollution. Because of na rin, yung surrounding natin, lalo na ang mga release ng mga greenhouse gases due to our number one na nga ang contribution ng ating mga sasakyan. Lalo na yung mga hindi masyadong maganda ang burning ng fuel. Yung mga diesel, minsan makikita natin medyo mausok ang binubugang ng mga tambutso na sasakyan, nasa magpupulityo ng air. No? The second question, the of cost versus benefit. Yan. What we do na spend a month. Yan yung mga second. It's the question of cost versus benefit. Yan ang mga sa air resource system management. Sandali ha. Okay. Yan na muna tayo sa saglit. Excuse me. Excuse, try to check something. Give me 1 minute. Excuse. Ah, oh, sorry. Wait, Mhm. Give me 1 minute. I try to take something. Magkano tayo ng konting video clip according to air monitoring na nangyayari, ano? Para hindi naman makakaburo ang ating sandali. Magkaroon tayo ng ano. Okay.
Regional pollution monitors are the norm in developed countries to help measure whether the air is healthy to breathe. These stationary monitors are often expensive and provide important information about the overall quality of air across a large area. In contrast, in developing countries, there may be few or even zero monitors to measure air quality, limiting a community's knowledge of health risks for the population. New sensor technology is changing that dynamic, allowing us to measure and map pollution concentrations block by block, and identify patterns and pollution spikes or hotspots like never before. Hyperlocal monitoring allows for a more holistic picture of air quality at a high spatial resolution and frequency. Measuring on-the-ground pollution can support a better understanding of the true exposure and health impacts of air pollution. In turn, the data can lead to targeted policy solutions or advanced regulatory actions. If you're considering a pollution research project that will benefit from hyperlocal monitoring, we've got some insights to share before you choose an approach to monitoring the air. First, you must identify which pollutant or pollutants to study based on existing air quality data. So how do you decide? Consider where you're starting from. If you don't have any air quality monitoring, it may make sense to start with a few high-quality Federal Reference Method, FRM monitors, especially if your goal is to advance regulatory actions. If you're designing a hyperlocal air monitoring network, your first key decision is to choose between mobile sensors and stationary sensors, or whether you create a hybrid network that combines the two to meet your goals. Lower-cost stationary sensor networks and mobile mapping, on the other hand, can supplement existing reference-grade equipment or serve as an alternative to reference monitoring systems for cities with limited capacity. But no matter where you're starting, the monitoring strategy should be targeted to collect the kind of data needed to answer specific questions about your air quality. Remember, Your goals should guide your design. Before you consider what monitors to buy, you should develop clear and firm project goals. What does your monitoring need to accomplish and for whom? Monitoring and measuring can produce data, either general or specific, that can create awareness and urgency around pollution sources. The data can also be used to support new pollution control policies and public health programs. So ask yourself or your team, are you seeking a general survey of what air pollution exists in your city? Are you looking to measure pollution in a certain neighborhood on a block-by-block level? Are you trying to measure the impact of a discrete event or site, such as the construction of an industrial plant in a residential neighborhood, or the expansion of a roadway or airport, or an intervention aimed at improving air quality, such as low-emission zones? In this case, a before and after measurement would be key to showing impact. Develop clear project goals before you determine which approach is best for you. Common monitoring goals and objectives can be found on our website under Innovative Air Quality Monitoring. You'll also find a free downloadable how-to guide to the recommended expertise needed on your team to complete a project.
Yun, may mga latest technology na rin na ina-adapt ang ibang bansa. Maaaring dito rin sa atin meron na rin, pero still hindi naman talaga kayang i-purify talaga ang air na talagang purified talaga na for human consumption. Kahit pa gaano kaganda yung mga technological invention, ay yun pa rin. Pero salamat din naman sa mga ganyang mga invention na one way or another ay makakatulong din naman. Kaya lang medyo costly ang pagpupurify ng air. Hindi katulad comparable sa water treatment. Ma-analyze natin before human consumption. If some contaminated water passing to a special treatment process, ay ano naman, through analysis ay madidetermine naman kung talagang safe for consumption. So, yun ang mga nasa na ba tayo? And para konti lang break doon sa ating pabasa-basa. Okay. So we have solid waste management system. 13. Solid waste management system. Ako naman na magbabasa dahil parang bitin. Wala yung isang, hindi ko na-download yung isa. Number 13. So solid waste management system in the past, yan sa nakaraan daw, mga panahon, solid waste was considered a resource. And we will examine its current potential as a resource. Generally, however, solid waste is considered a problem to be solved as cheaply as possible rather than a resource to be recovered. Hindi ko lang na-download yung page 13 na. Bali, ang napapariyan na yata ay page 14. Pero basahin ko na lang itong page 13. While typhoid and cholera epidemics of the mid-1800s sparked water resource management efforts, and while air pollution episodes have prompted better air resource management, we have yet to feel the impact of material or energy shortages. Yan, may sinasabing multimedia system. Many environmental problems cross the air, water, soil boundary. Yung kanina sinasabi nga, pagka nag-cross na sa boundary yung air, water, and soil. An example of acid rain that results from the emission of sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide into the atmosphere. These pollutants are washed out of the atmosphere, thus cleansing it, but in turn polluting water. Yan, yung nangyayari sa acid rain. Yung mga pollutants ay nawawash out sa atmosphere. But in in turn, polluting water and changing the soil chemistry, which ultimately result in the death of fish and trees. So nagkaroon ng what you call it, chain reaction ano, yung sinasabing acid rains. Thus, our historic reliance on the natural cleansing processes of the atmosphere in designing air pollution control equipment has failed to deal with the multimedia nature of the problem. Pagka ang nature ng problem ay nawawala din ng epekto yung mga na-design nilang air pollution control equipment kahit pasado ng napaka-modern na yung kanilang na-invento. Likewise, disposal of solid waste by incineration result in an air pollution. Pagka naman nagsunog tayo ng mga solid waste, magkokos naman ito ng air pollution, which in turn is controlled by scrubbing with water, resulting in water pollution also. So, ganyan. 3 lessons have come to us from our experience with multimedia problems. First, it is dangerous to develop models that are too simplistic. Pagka masyado daw simple yung na-develop na models. Second, environmental engineers must use a multimedia approach and in particular work with multidisciplinary team to solve environmental problems. Yun, kinakailangan sila magkaroon ng mga discussion, mga multidisciplinary professionals. Third, the best solution to environmental pollution is waste minimization. If waste is not produced, it does not need to be treated. Tama nga naman. Pagka wala kang masyado na mga waste na produce, syempre hindi magiging treat sa ano. So yun ang pinakamaganda, waste minimization. Hangga't maaari maiwasan mag-produce ng waste. Pero hindi man maiwasan, sa ano pa lang natin ay may mga waste ano tayo. So yun, multimedia. Okay. Susunod na pala dito yung mga policies ng organization na DNNR. So sa mga pagdating sa mga air, water, air, and soil pollution, meron tayong mga government agency, government environmental process and organization. May mga organizations sa government na nag-oversee ng mga ano na yan, ng mga management na yan, air, water, and soil management or any concern regarding this environment. Air, environment, water, environment, and soil. Because of various government departments, we are separately responsible government environmental policies and departments could not be described as integrated. Kaya kakahiwalay din sila eh. However, the new constitution was adopted in 1986. Environmental administrative bodies were reformed in accordance with the Executive Order number 192 in the following year. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources took charge of all environmental administration. The DNRR is a body that has integrated strengthened authority of the former Department of Natural Resources of Settlement. Okay. Ito na, number 40 na tayo. The environment and natural resources and to balance development activities with the environmental management with the aim of to achieve sustainable development. Consist 8 staff, 6 staff bureaus, 4 attached agencies, and 13 regional offices in the administrative district. Department of Energy and Resources. Yan. Narin pa si Mendoza, Catherine. Narin pa ba si Mendoza, Catherine? Ayan. Catherine Mendoza. Catherine Mendoza na rin. Wala na ba yata? Narin ba? Saan tayo? Ano nga ito si Barola Landlord?
Yes po, sir.
Pakibasa naman yung ating about
Sir, wala
DNN.
pong naka-present po.
Alin? Sino?
Wala pong naka-present.
Ito. Basa ba? Yung DNR, the DNR consists of 8 step. Kita mo? Yung DNR.
Sir, wala na pong naka-present sa screen.
Wala. Saglit. Kaya pala nawala. Sandali. Tingnan ko na. Ba't nawala ako? Wait. Wala ba? Nawala pala. Tanga. Nawala pala yan. Sandali. Ito. Nakita ba dyan yung the DNR consists of 8 staff offices
Yes po,
hanggang
sir.
doon sa kahit hanggang doon sa National Electrification Bureau.
Okay po, sir. The DENR consists of 8 staff offices, 6 staff bureaus, 4 attached agencies, and 13 regional offices in the administrative district. The 8 staff offices are the Special Concern Office, Public Affairs Office, Planning and Policy Studies Office, Foreign Assisted and Special Project Office, Field Operation Office, Management Service Office, Legislative Affairs Office, and Legal Affairs Office. The 6 staff bureaus are Forest Management Bureau, Mines and Geosciences Bureau, Environmental Management Bureau, Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, Protected Areas and Wildlife Bureau, and Lands Management Bureau. The attached 4 agencies are Pollution Adjudication Board, National Mapping and Resource Information Authority, Natural Resources Development Corporation, and National Electrification Bureau.
Okay, thank you. Dami kung ano ng bureau ng DNNR. So the total number, as we continue, the total number of staff at DNR today is about 35,000. Ito baka nadagdagan na dahil parang matagal na itong module na ito. About 5,000 are assigned to the headquarters. Meron daw siyang 5,000. And remaining 30,000 work at the regional offices. About 7,000 of regional office staff are forest rangers. May mga sinasabi mga forest rangers na din sa environment. Okay. Saglit lang. So again, we try to understand this DNR progress, short video clip. Wait. I just try to give you some duties and functions of Department of Energy para medyo may konti tayo. So this one. Sandali, umpisa ko ng konti.
Management, and sustainable development of the country's environment and natural resources. Its functions include overseeing policies and regulations related to environmental protection, land management, forestry, wildlife conservation, and more. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources DENR. Mandate. DENR's primary mandate is to be the steward of the country's environment and natural resources. It is tasked with ensuring the sustainable use and management of these resources for present and future generations. Key functions. The DENR is responsible for a wide range of functions, including environmental protection, natural resource management, and land administration. Some of its key functions include issuing permits for various activities that impact the environment, conserving biodiversity, and implementing reforestation and afforestation programs. Bureaus and attached agencies. The DENR includes several bureaus and attached agencies, each with specific responsibilities. For example, the Forest Management Bureau FMB focuses on forest conservation and management, while the Environmental Management Bureau MB deals with pollution control and environmental impact assessments. Environmental laws. DENR plays a crucial role in enforcing environmental laws and regulations in the Philippines. It oversees the implementation of laws such as the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, and the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act, among others. Environmental Protection Initiatives. The department is involved in various environmental protection initiatives, including the protection of endangered species, the management of protected areas and national parks, and efforts to combat illegal logging and mining. Community and stakeholder engagement. DENR often collaborates with local communities and stakeholders in its efforts to promote sustainable resource management. It aims to strike a balance between conservation and economic development. Challenges. Like many environmental agencies worldwide, DENR faces challenges such as illegal logging, illegal fishing, habitat destruction, and the need to address environmental degradation while supporting economic growth.
Yun, tapos na. Sorry. Okay, wala ako. So, yun ang about DNR. Marami palang function yung ating DNR. So, sana tatrabaho na yun sa dami na step na yun. So, okay. Nasa na ba tayo? DANR. Nasaan na ako? So, yun. Ang DNR, about DNR. Ipinakita na rin sa video yung mga established. Nasa ba ito? Balik ko sa kabila. Yan. Within the DNR, the new established Environment Management Bureau, yung kanina pinakita sa video. With jurisdiction over environmental management, pollution prevention, environmental assessment. Established on the Executive Order number 192. Itong famous itong Executive Order number 192, which took over the responsibilities of Environment Center of the Philippines, the National Pollution Control Commission, and the National Environmental Protection Council, and the National Environmental Council. It administers control over air and water quality and conducts environmental assessment as well as coordinates with other governmental bodies. The EMB consists, ayun kanina, EMB, Environmental Management Bureau, consists of 4 division, the Legal Division, Research and Development Division, Environmental Quality Division, and Environmental Education Division, as well as section under direct control of the Director of Bureau such as Administration Division, the like. Ayan, mga ganun. The number of full-time staff is about 170. Ayan, full-time staff. So, yan. Nasa na ganyan? Number, ano ba yan? Number? Hindi. Yan na. Of specialty because among the other environmental ministries and departments is the Laguna Lake Development Authority. The LDA is an environmental policy implementation body with jurisdiction over development and environment in Laguna Lake region, southeast of the capital, Manila. All applications with regard to development activities in the Laguna Lake area must go through LLDA. Then I issued the Philippine Environmental Quality Report 1990 to 1995 in November 1996, which described this environmental situation and environmental policies of the government of the Philippines for the 6 years from 1990. This was the first publication of the DNR's environmental white paper and is expected to be published continuously in the future. So ito namang mga environmental legislation, medyo dapat medyo sa later part pa natin madidiscuss ito. So doon muna tayo mag-stop. Ang ating Okay. Wala akong makuha. Okay, almost another 10 minutes. Ano bang ating kulang pa sa ating? Wait, hold on. Wala nang naiwan sa ano. Excuse. Wala yung aking. So sa ating learning outcomes, type of natural resources, meron naman tayo. Supposed to be, we have the quiz week 3. So maybe next face-to-face na lang. Quiz ng konti. So week 4 and 5 will be discussing ecosystem and biodiversity. So Describe the types, components, environment, natural resources, ecological components. Yan, yung ano. Compare the waste of water, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, ano. Tatalak natin next cycle. Next. Phosphorus cycle, ecosystem. Yan ang magiging mga pagdadaanan natin next. Yan. Mga ganyan. Victory. Okay. Ecological concept. Meron tayong last 5 minutes na padaanan natin itong mga global issues sa environment. Saglit lang. We have another 5 minutes. Tingnan natin ito.
Environmental issues in the world. In 2022, we are facing so many environmental challenges, but the significant issues that affect our world overall are listed below. 1. Pollution. When the harmful materials contaminate the environment, they cause pollution. These are air pollution, land pollution, water pollution, and sound pollution, and the harmful materials are called pollutants. Air pollution refers to the contamination of harmful gases and particulates in the air or atmosphere. Land pollution refers to soil contamination due to the presence of toxic chemicals. Water pollution refers to the contamination of the water body by harmful pollutants and several human activities. Sound pollution refers to the excessive noise surrounding where most of the noise is man-made. 2. Global warming and ozone layer depletion. Global warming denotes the constant increase in temperature near the Earth's surface over the past 2 centuries. The causes of global warming are deforestation, excessive use of petrochemicals, and CFC. The CFC causes ozone layer depletion. 3. Climate change and acid rain. Due to global warming, there are droughts and floods, and the climatic imbalance has led to the loss of the natural habitat of many plants and animals. Due to climate change, more sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides are mixed and react with water and form acid rain, which has several adverse effects on monuments, sculptures, and our health. 4. Deforestation. Deforestation refers to the purposeful clearing of the forest. Deforestation contributes to climate change, global warming, soil erosion, flooding, etc. 5. Soil degradation. Due to deforestation, soil quality is deteriorating, which in turn gives threats to our future food production. It also causes soil erosion, excessive nutrient runoff into lakes, etc. 6. Overpopulation. Human population is constantly rising due to underutilized contraception and a lack of female education. Overpopulation negatively affects the environment through pollution and deforestation and contributes to global warming. 7. Natural resource depletion. It denotes the situation when consumption of natural resources is faster than replenishment. Natural resources contribute to economic growth, and deforestation and soil erosion are examples of natural resource depletion. 8. Generating unsustainable waste. Unsustainable waste includes incineration, discharging waste in water without treatment, etc. There is a problem with waste management that contain health-threatening chemicals. 9. Waste disposal. Improper waste disposal has some catastrophic effects on the environment, like the leaching of chemicals and burning of plastic. Improper waste disposal contributes to water and air pollution. 10. Loss of biodiversity. It refers to the fact that the number of species and the variety of species in the biological communities in a given area is declining rapidly, which leads to the breakdown of the ecosystem. These are the top 10 major global environmental issues in the world that we must take care of to protect our environment. If you liked our video, don't forget to like, comment, share.
Daw mga top 10 major issues regarding environment. Yan ang ano. So, yun. So, para may natakal natin tayo naman kahit paano today. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of the day. Okay.